Welcome back to Chow Time Pods. Your host, Red. I got a video today from Poor Man's Podcast.
More women come together, the less men there will physically be. So growing up, I thought natural selection pertained to everyone, men, women. And I just remember thinking the civilized society that we live in is actually preventing the weakest of us from dying off and the strongest of us procreating. What I noticed was...
Girl. I think a lot of women would die
Oh
off.
no, it says women were meant to be more physically dominant. So you know where this is going, straight to delusional land.
primary concern for the 99.99% of the people around me, because I grew up in America. I grew up in a very privileged
We could tell.
position. I had a parent that loved me. I wasn't in danger all the time, at least not outside the home. And what I noticed was people's primary concern was their convenience, whether they had enough convenience around them, and that was a majority of consumerism that I was witnessing. And instead of our priorities being more community driven, it was all about how can I not be inconvenienced by living the human experience, essentially. And
I can somewhat agree with that. Like, we do seek convenience.
no, these were thoughts that I had when I was a kid. So like, there's not much nuance. It's like pretty basic thinking, right? But I just got reminded of, I was like, oh yeah, like when I thought about natural selection, I thought about how like both men, women, children, everyone, like people with peanut allergies, they still exist. You know?
It's funny because she thinks that if we live by the laws of natural selection, as an overweight woman who's probably never thrown a punch in her life, she thinks that she will rise to the top.
Right. That's where I'm like, and like, girl, you're maybe a 2. Maybe a 2. You're definitely not going to be one of the women that are probably going to have kids.
She thinks that she's one of the ones that would still be alive if we were to live by the laws of natural selection. It reminds me of the people who look at zombie movies and they fantasize about it, and they always think that they're going to be the one that's the survivor or the person that's going to survive.
Hell no, I'm going to freak the hell out.
When they're probably going to be a part of the 99% of the people that actually just became zombies. She just has that level of delusion. She thinks that she would be alive if we lived by the laws of natural selection.
You know, and it's because we lived in a civilized society. Now, what I hadn't considered up until recently was natural selection between males. I think it's so funny how a lot of men like to refer to nature as a guide to how we should structure our civilized society, what the natural of order things are. And, you know, they end up essentially cherry picking parts of nature that they deem fit for their dominant, submissive power dynamic. And one of the things that is commonly brought up is, oh, there's always an alpha male. Like, men are meant to lead because it's the alpha male who does that, and he's just like fucking a bunch of bitches.
The whole alpha male thing is kind of bullcrap, but there always should be a leader.
His lionesses, and you know, going about his like ballsy.
Do you realize lionesses still are under one leadership, the lion?
Dick swinging.
Yeah,
alpha.
she has no idea how masculine hierarchies are structured. We structure our hierarchies based on competence. So whatever we're doing in that time, whoever the guy is that knows the most about what we're doing is going to be considered the leader. And that's
Correct.
how masculine hierarchies work. We don't just...
Like, my friends do a good amount of construction and carpentry. Like, every time I go to his house and we're doing stuff, I just listen to what he tells me. I'm like, oh, what do I do with this hammer? I mean, I know what to do with the hammer, but, you know, like, where am I nailing things in? Oh, okay, am I nailing it here? I just ask him, and he tells me what to do because it's his house, for one. And two, he knows what he wants. He knows how everything needs to be done properly. I'm just there to assist, right? I'm not going to be there. I'm like, nah, bro. I know what to do with your house, and just start doing whatever the hell I want. That's how we get fucked up shit.
Just go, oh, because he can sleep with more women, he's a quote-unquote alpha male. If I have a buddy that plays Tetris competitively, if we're playing a game of Tetris or really any video game that we have,
you lost.
He's going to be the guy that we denominate as a leader. I have a buddy, he likes to do a lot of outdoor stuff. He likes shooting, he likes fishing, he likes trap, he likes to do all that type of stuff. If we go fishing, he's the guy that we're going to look to for answers. He's going to be the guy that is the leader.
Damn right.
Masculine hierarchies don't just work in absolutes. It conflates depending on what we're doing in the task at hand. So she's completely wrong with how she even thinks that men even look at our hierarchies. We don't look at our hierarchies as in, oh, he's the handsome guy that can get women. He's the one that we should be looking to. That's not how men think about our hierarchies. It's based on competence. How good are you at the task that we're trying to complete? If you're the best at it, then we're going to look to you for answers. That just makes sense.
Oh, God. For those of you who are unaware of what I'm going to talk about next, you need to be following Princella the Queenmaker. Like, that's your fucking homework, bitch.
By the way, Princella the Queenmaker is a woman who was married to a man. She divorced the man, and she's a lesbian now. And her whole shtick is saying that men are incapable of love.
I know half of you hate doing homework. Half of you are more than likely fucking ADHD autistic. Follow Princella. That's your homework. But I need you guys to know to not be fooled. There wasn't an alpha controlling all of these women and leading these women. It was more like a group of women chose the strongest male that they wanted to procreate with and that they could actually tolerate. And straight up, there would be no need for other males.
You don't get to just choose the male. The male chooses you.
Like, why? Why have more than a couple?
And just think about this. Think about how insane what she's saying is. She's basically saying, if you're not the man that women deem the one that's most attractive that they should sleep with or that they want to sleep with, you don't deserve to be on Earth. Now, imagine if I were to say something like that about women. Imagine if I said, if you are a woman that's incapable of having children, you shouldn't exist. Imagine if me as a man said, if you're an overweight woman or a woman that we deem as men that is unattractive, you shouldn't exist. That would be insane, right? But that's essentially what she's saying. The reason why men who are not attractive still need to exist is because the guys who are not deemed attractive by women are a lot of the times the guys who do the hard jobs. The guy who helped build her house probably isn't an attractive guy, but he's necessary for the world to keep spinning. She thinks that men get their value based on if a woman finds them attractive, and that's just not how men even dictate our value, and that's not how we dictate who's valuable in any certain situation or scenario.
One, this man is going to give me the strongest chance for my children. I don't need him for much more than that. That's the natural order of life. I'm not going to...
As if you could protect yourself while you're pregnant when there was wolves, bears, lions, and shit out there? Really?
Say men are inherently
She's
evil,
so stupid.
because you will never catch me absolving...
Like, American born, raised women are just so dumb nowadays.
A man of the responsibility he needs to assume when taking accountability for the bullshit he's put women through and his father has put women through.
She's so
and
stupid.
Grandfather and all that shit. Let's get one thing straight. Men are aggressive.
I'm telling you, like the Indian women, Middle Eastern women that drink the Kool-Aid, oh my God, they drink the Kool-Aid. They are the Kool-Aid man. Oh yeah!
They are more aggressive than women.
Not true.
Men are more violent than women. Men
Not
like
true.
to test boundaries.
Men are more capable of violence than women. That doesn't mean that men are more violent than women. If you ask any bouncer on the planet, he'll tell you that he probably has to break up more cat fights than he does men fighting. If you look at the statistics on relationships, lesbian couples in relationships have the most domestic violence. If you look at violence to children, so when women are in positions of power, when they have the monopoly on violence, women by far are more likely to abuse kids than men are. So
I can agree with this.
the idea that women are not as violent as men just because they're less capable of inflicting more harm just isn't true.
One behavioral manifestation of this is the fact that we know that men are territorial and not protective. When was the
She's
last
just dumb.
time you
This is
saw a
dumb.
man stand up for another woman out of the kindness of his heart?
Every single day that men build society and keep society running.
And how often did it happen?
Every day, every moment of your lives.
Genuinely. Last time I asked a dude to help me, he asked, what's in it for me? Protective and providing how?
If you want the protection and provision of a man, get a man.
Correct. Just random men don't have to do that to you, but we still do in a way. In a
It's
sense.
crazy to me how these types of women will demonize men as a whole, but then still expect the same men that they shit on to protect and provide for them. I just think that that's insane.
Last time I made a post calling this shit out, I had multiple women tell me how they had to rescue and save a woman who's being abused on the street while men across the street were laughing at her. Sure. That's exactly what happened. And that woman that was trying to help that other abuse women. Men are territorial. They're not protective. So in order to be territorial, you need to understand
In order to be territorial, you have to be protective. The whole definition of being territorial is being protective over your territory.
Correct.
This is dumb. She doesn't even make sense. She just assumes because she has big glasses and probably a stupid bachelor's degree from some whatever college, she's smart.
The bigger the glasses, the dumber you are, huh?
She's making no sense.
Physical boundaries are, how to establish those, and considering now more than ever within patriarchal societies, men have been ingrained to believe that their manhood is rooted in dominance. You can't tell me that that territorial being is not trying to constantly increase their area of influence over space, land, resources, other humans. People who
If that was the case, men would be just fighting constantly.
are more aggressive, violent, people who think friction within your group and between other groups is a worthwhile deficit in an attempt to satisfy their primary drive, i.e. dominance, you don't need a lot of these motherfuckers around. Like, no. If you want to look at
We also don't really need too many of your type of women around.
it from an evolutionary standpoint, humans are not just trying to give their offspring the best chance they have at life.
Even as a man, if you conquer society, as men, if you conquer the world to make it safe for women and children, because that's predominantly why men build societies, to make things safe for women and children, build stability for the growth of children so women can flourish, all these different things, right? It just goes to show that once you conquer all of nature, the only problem that women have
Is themselves.
is men. And then that's what they'll start to
Okay, yes.
complain about. Every other problem that women have to deal with, we're talking about a woman here that probably has never thrown a punch in her life. She doesn't even understand violence, yet she's talking about natural selection as if she would be at the top of that hierarchy if people did become violent. Like, it just makes no sense.
An entire species is trying to give the entire species the best chance it has to survive in an ever-changing world. I am more spiritual. I believe we are spiritual beings.
There we
having
go.
a
She's
human experience,
spiritual.
not
Here
the
we
other
go.
way around.
Here we
So
go.
you can't fucking convince me that all that violence and unnecessary friction is just necessary. Now, I believe the way men have manipulated nature into producing more males is to make
Men have manipulated nature to produce more males. Do you realize that there's more women than men on the planet?
them necessary and a woman's life dependent on their presence.
Well, you're giving us too much credit. Now men have manipulated nature. We haven't even solved the issue of balding, yet she thinks that we've manipulated nature so that women depend on men.
We have somewhat solved it, but not truly.
I can talk about marriage in the past and how, resources were passed down from male to male more
Because they can protect the resources.
recently, not in past ancient history, but you know what I'm talking about. But what I find interesting is the current day propaganda that women are fed that tells us the lack of love that we've manufactured and made sure that you never experience, the lack of wholeness that you feel that has always been within you can be remedied through a romantic relationship with a man of your choosing. The illusion of choice, ladies. The illusion of choice. Without propaganda, without, conditioning, given a true choice, you would choose to be in community with other women. Because that is your safest space in this physical world.
Yeah, it's your safest space until they see a spider.
Do you not think other women realize that other women are pretty violent themselves and they want a man to prevent all these other women from hurting them?
And then everybody runs for the hills. It's your safest space until a lion comes into your camp, and then nobody is willing to step up and
Dude, lion goes in the camp, everybody's dead.
defend the entire camp. It's their safest place until you deal with a tornado or a natural disaster, which, by the way, men don't only protect women from other men, men also protect women from the harshness of nature, the harshness of reality. And you see that reflected in today. We live in a society where most people have not thrown a punch with the intent to harm.
Correct.
Most people live in society, are alive on earth, and they have never even thrown a punch with the intention of harming something in their lives. That just goes to show how safe men have made the world. And that's because we've been able to conquer and manipulate nature in a way where we can have this level of peace. But obviously she's just not appreciative of those things, and she just believes that if women were all together, it would just be this oasis of peace. Because she's spoiled.
When does she think, if there was just normal women and then there was a group of aggressive women that knew how to fight and knew how to do things, you don't think they would just take you guys over?
And she doesn't understand the harshness of nature because she's been protected from that by men. So much so that her privilege is invisible to her.
The promise of love, men have increased their population. Because of withholding resources from women, men have been able to increase their populations.
That doesn't even make sense. How do we, just because we're withholding resources, we can just make more males?
Telling me a motherfucker with a proclivity to aggression is supposed to bring about the golden age amongst humans? Peace.
What do you think we are now? This is pretty much somewhat the golden age of humans.
Between species, within our species.
At least that's what we can think of.
Strengthen us as humans, our humanity. Girl, please. Girl, please. There does not need to be this many men. Because having this many men
is insane.
around you. This is what a
Imagine if I said this about women.
Women are meant to
It's like almost speaking about genocide, about men.
Be the natural authorities within the spiritual, emotional, and mental realm. Women were also meant to be the physically dominating gender through numbers. The man acted too aggressive, tested too many boundaries, brought too much dissonance within the group. Women would get together and cast him out or kill him. This was one to protect.
Tell me one time that women collectively got together to enact violence in order to orchestrate their will. One time. One time throughout all of human history, from anywhere in any remote place where women picked up arms and fought against a force in order to enact their will. Name me one time. She's completely delusional, and this is what the girl boss mentality does to you. You start to go into delusions like women are these strong boss creatures that can do exactly what men can do and are more physically dominant than men, yet they've been able to be gatekept from all of the resources.
But yet, men have been using their force against women, oppressing women, and making women do things, for men. But then women are the more physically dominant one. How does that even make sense? If you're the more physically dominant one, how are men forcing you to do things?
How could those two things exist at the same time?
Why do you need protection from men?
Generation, their actual children, to protect the rest of the other women, protect people who couldn't defend themselves, and 3, contribute to a homeostatic, balanced environment. Relationships.
Just bringing big words that really don't really mean anything.
Women are the natural, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical authorities. Women should be dominant. But I don't like the word should in life general, and there doesn't need to be the word dominant, especially when living in a matriarchal society. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to assign people like dominant, submissive, because those things play out naturally. There doesn't need to be a role assigned to you.
Yeah, she's just ugly and bitter, and now she's trying
pretty
to
much. That's exactly what I kind of got out of that too, poor man. She's one of the most unattractive women out there. Overweight, butterface, and the only way for her to kind of rage bait, get attention, is to say stupid things like this about men. And the only way she'll get attention from men is rage baiting like this.
Other women to be bitter towards men. Just another TikTok misandrous. They're just fun to laugh at.
Yeah, I don't even get upset at these women anymore. I just laugh, just like the poor man says. Like, you guys are so delusional that you think that you can live out there in society without men, and bears aren't just gonna wipe you out. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.